and welcome. I'm Ijoma Onyato. Tonight, Senate suspends plenary till Thursday, October 22nd, after screening 2 ministerial nominees today. The Code of Conduct Tribunal expected to sit tomorrow on the alleged false declaration of assets by Senate President Dr. Bukola Saraki. Senior lawyers urge Code of Conduct Tribunal to halt proceedings pending judgment on the Court of Appeal in the case involving the Senate President. President Muhammadu Buhari performs groundbreaking of a 260-kilometer superhighway in Cross River State. And the US and Russia sign agreement to minimize risk of air incidents over Syria. And on business news tonight, investors seek federal government's commitments to the sustenance of national automotive policy.
And on sports news tonight, Nigeria Football Federation protests the change in date of the second leg of African Nations Championship qualifier between Burkina Faso and the Super Eagles.
We begin tonight with the suspension of plenary by the Nigerian Senate. Information from the acting clerk of the Senate, Mr. Nelson Oyewo, says the Senate will not be sitting tomorrow to continue with the ministerial screening as earlier scheduled. Mr. Oyewo would not give any reason for the suspension, but did give assurances that the Senate will reconvene and continue with the ministerial screening on Thursday. Well, earlier, the Senate screened 2 of the 3 candidates listed for the exercise. And those who were screened but yet to be confirmed are Mr. Bayo Shittu and Hajia Kadia Abba Ibrahim. Our correspondent Linda Akibe reports.
The leadership of the Senate making their way into the Senate chamber. All seated, federal lawmakers are set to resume screening ministerial nominees. Last week, the Senate screened and confirmed 18 ministerial nominees, leaving 18 more left. On a single day last week, the Senate screened 10 nominees and 8 the following day. So it was expected that the Senate would follow the same procedure this week. However, on the order paper, only 3 ministerial nominees were listed for screening. The Senate spokesman tells us why.
In response to public agitation that we are too fast with the screening of ministerial nominees and that they believe we are not detailed enough. And since the Senate is about the people, the 8th Senate is about the people, and we respond swiftly to public outcry. So the Senate have decided now that we will take only 3 today so that we can be more thorough in the screening exercise, since we have 21 days to screen these people.
Inside the Senate chamber, the first nominee to be screened takes the stand.
I have come a long way with due respect and in all humility.
A lawmaker fires a damning question at him.
Were you ever indicted by a panel for religious intolerance in Oyo State, where there was disturbances, and when the state set up a committee, they found you guilty?
He answers.
I say with all sense of responsibility that I have never been indicted by any panel of inquiry. I recently became aware of a gazette, and I have copies of that gazette. I don't know whether Mr. President will allow me to make reference to it. What happened? In that year 2000, I was the secretary of the National Committee on Hajj. And throughout the period that the crisis occurred, I was away in Saudi Arabia on national assignment. So I was not even in the country when the crisis occurred. And if you look through the Gazette, I was not invited. And in law, if you are not invited, if there are allegations against you and you are not invited, whatever finding which comes out goes to no issue.
After being grilled for nearly 1 hour 30 minutes, he leaves the stand. The second lawmaker to be screened belongs to the family of the National Assembly. Representative Khadija Abba Ibrahim is a 7th member of the House of Representatives. so it was clear that the Senate was going to go easy on her. But she did not leave without being asked a question, and in an interesting twist, the first question came from none other than her husband.
My ever-loving wife, Minister Khadija Bukaraba Ibrahim, how will you react if you are asked to just bow and go?
With 2 nominees screened, the Senate still has 16 ministerial nominees left to be screened, and this process is expected to last a few more days. Linda Kibi, Channels Television News.
And joining me on the news at 10 to look at today's proceedings is Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Paul Ananaba. Thank you so much for joining us on the news at 10.
Thank you.
So much has happened on the floor in the last 24 hours. Were you surprised at all that the former River State Governor was not screened today?
No, I was not. And I don't expect that most Nigerians will be. So much is been heard about petitions, agitations, and if you are quite conversant with River State politics, you will know that it's not going to be an easy ride for Chibika Amechi. When Senator Dino Melaye came up today to say there's some form of bipartisan approach, you would then know that unless and until they are sure that there will be no storm during the screening, it's not likely that Amechi will be put before the Senate. I don't expect that Amechi will not know what to say. If it comes to oratory, he's quite sound in oratory. So it must be the bipartisan approach that is there. I thought by tomorrow, if the Senate would have had a plenary, that Amechi would have been there. But I'm sure that by Thursday, they are likely to get him and then get over that.
Okay, explain something to us. If they say the matter is sub judice and it's in court, it can't be discussed, what exactly are we waiting for the Ethics and Privileges Committee to look into? Why are we waiting for that report? If it's in court, it's sub judice, we can't discuss it.
Well, you cannot put your finger on that. Often people use that as an umbrella to hide when they want to do certain things. I mean, can you clearly say that Amechi is appearing before the Ethics Committee? You cannot. So you can only rely on some of these things that are being said. But aside from that, the Senate has not said that Amechi will not appear. And nobody has been stopped by any committee. So far. What the Ethics Committee would do is not a judicial determination. They are not going to interfere with the judicial process. That the matter is before the court doesn't mean that the internal workings of a legislature should come to a halt. When you look at John Momo and the Republican and all that, you will see that the court rarely goes into purely legislative proceedings.
Okay, looking at all the adjournments we're having and the postponements, we have 16 people to go. At this rate, do you think the screening will be done this week? Will we be through with this process this week?
I hope you don't drag me back to the fact that the minister should have been working by now. Those arguments are in the public domain. But away from that, the Senate should be aware that Nigerians are eager to see the Federal Executive Council in place because we need to move fast and ensure that Nigerians get what they require. But I expect that the Senate should not take us beyond Monday. There's going to be plenary on Thursday. I think that this is of serious national consequence, that they should now look straight to this screening. It shouldn't continue ad infinitum. But for the change mantra, we would have been hearing that something was going wrong, the way it used to be in those days. Now, since the change mantra is there, and we are sure that not much will be done outside except for these bipartisan moves, they should hit the road running to conclude that.
All right, Mr. Paul Ananaba, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us on the news at 10 tonight. Thank you. The President, Muhammadu Buhari, has formally flagged off the construction of a 260-kilometer superhighway at Obangsang Akamba local government area of Cross River State. The project is an initiative of the Cross River State Governor, Ben Ayade, who explained that the road is to serve as the evacuation route for the Bakassi deep seaport. The governor added that with the federal government support, the multi-billion naira project will be concluded within the first year of his administration.
This dream had a source. This dream had a taproot. That taproot was based on an economic model, the PPP model, the model that would stochastically create an income profile that would not be dependent of the state. But the strategy ultimately is to decouple the state from the dependence of federation allocation. It is our stronghold. With the kind of support you will give to us, we believe that this project ultimately will be a reality.
Given the multiplier effect of these laudable projects are expected to generate in terms of aggregate spin-offs, I want to assure you of my determination as well as the commitment of the federal government to ensure that this road and indeed the seaport runs to the great population.
In part 2, after the break, police in River State arrest pro-Biafra protesters. That's in a moment. Do join us again.